What's in your bag, Gary? I'm glad you asked. I'm going to talk about trail running shoes today because I get asked about it so much on my Instagram stories, when I'm coaching, and I realised over the years I've probably worn every type of trail running shoe, and if you're either a beginner or making the move from road running to trail running, it's not just as simple as sticking a pair of trail shoes on your feet really, although you might hear me say that sometimes, because there's so much choice and variety out there. So what I thought would be a good idea is to bring my current selection of trail shoes, talk about them, talk about the differences between a trail shoe and a road shoe, and then, like I say, whether you're just starting out or making the move over from road running, you might find something helpful in this video. And even if you've been running trails or on the fells or in mountains for years, you still hopefully might find a small nugget of information that you find useful. So I'm going to tip all these out and we'll run through them, because that bag is rustling away in the wind. It's annoying me, but we will start with, this is a Nike Pegasus shoe, and it is a trail shoe, but it is pretty close to a road shoe as well, so you can use them as a crossover. What I'm going to go through on this shoe is some of the anatomy and some of the kind of specifications or listings, however you want to call it. Most important with a trail shoe, I guess, is the outsole. The outsole is the bottom of the shoe, the part of the shoe that makes contact with the ground. So as soon as you start moving into trail running, you will notice that the grips are usually a lot different to a traditional road shoe. Now that might vary from something like this, which is not too aggressive and feels nice and comfortable on the trail and the road, all the way up to something like this, which has big deep lugs, or the gorilla's nipples as I like to call them. So this is a much more aggressive tread. Yeah, we're going to talk about the different compounds and what the different treads mean as we go along. But yeah, back to the Nike Pegasus shoe. Great all-rounder, great starter shoe for anyone moving from the road to the trail. We've talked about the outsole, which is the contact between the shoe and the ground. And the midsole is pretty much where you're going to get the cushioning from. So as the years have gone on, obviously road running have gone from a more minimalist kind of cushioning all the way up to the new super shoes, which is kind of max cushioning, you would say. Trail shoes have been, again, traditionally more of a minimalist shoe because of the proprioception, and people like to feel that kind of movement over the ground. But again, as the years have gone on and people are running further, and ultras especially, will have a good level of cushioning. So now the differences in cushioning aren't so much is it a trail or is it a road, because you can get a road shoe that has got maximum cushioning and you can get a trail running shoe that's got max cushioning, something like a Hoka. You can go all the way down to, this is a Vivo barefoot shoe, and yes, the outsole, good tread for trail running, but also no midsole essentially. So there's no drop, there's no midsole, there's no cushioning, no protection for those old Achilles and calf really. So yeah, we'll get onto these, but you would have to be very cautious if you're going to put these on. Now the upper of a trail shoe will usually be different too, because you will have some level of protection on the shoe box in case you're going to kick a rock or a tree root or a stile or a sheep or a pigeon, I don't know. But then again, that's not always the case, like in these Nike Pegasus. Again, lighter trail use, not much protection at the front. As you move into the fell running type of shoe, this does have a bit of protection all the way up to something like this shoe from VJ Sport, which has got good level of protection at the front. Okay, so yes, again, this shoe more suited to rocky, hard terrain, so it makes sense that you have something at the front to protect your little toes. Now don't worry if it feels like I'm rattling through my shoe collection here without much kind of more information on each individual shoe. I'm going to get to that, but we're just talking about the different kind of specifications here. So we've covered the outsole, which is the shoe meeting the ground. We've covered the midsole, which is basically the cushioning of the shoe. Then you will see when you go to buy a shoe, the specifications will have a drop, which is the drop between the heel and the toe. That is something that you will be more familiar with road running. That doesn't change again. So I guess the small difference being in trail running, traditionally it would have a slightly lower drop or a more moderate level drop, 4mm, 6mm, something like that. Again, trail runners like to be a little bit closer to the ground, a little bit more proprioception, whereas there's road shoes with much higher kind of drop than that. Again, you can have a 0 drop trail shoe with no cushioning, a Vivo Barefoot. This is also a 0 drop trail shoe, but with good cushioning. This one from Innovate. Now, it might not look like it's 0 drop because you can see how much I've ran in that shoe. It's bent up at the front. I think that just proves that I go uphill a lot, maybe. Yeah, so now it's just permanently like this. So it's no wonder that people start to get a little bit confused, because we've already got outsole, midsole, drop. What else? The protection at the front, do we need it? Then we have the uppers. What are these made out of? Okay, so when we're road running, most of the time we just want fast and light, right? But when we're trail running or mountain running, we again might need some different level of protection. This is made from Kevlar, I think, but the idea there is to keep debris out and kind of any surface water. It's not waterproof, but it does give you some extra protection. Another difference to look out for on a trail shoe is a lot of the tongues will be a lot shorter, and it will almost be a sock line or a part of the shoe. Again, that is designed to keep debris out. In all my kind of pairs of shoes, I actually haven't got that. They're usually in the newer or more expensive kind of grades. And yeah, anyone who tells you that running is cheap to get into, yes, it might be cheap to get into, but once you venture into different terrains and different races and different distances, you can see how many pairs of shoes I've got, and these are all that I'm using right now. So yeah, it's not cheap unless you're like me, who gets half of them sent to me. This is a Rogue shoe. I use this one when I'm injured. I don't know how this one got in there in the bag, but yeah, I just grabbed all the shoes on the way out. Yeah, this is obviously a cycling shoe. We don't need that unless you fucking injured yourself. Some other things to think about when you're looking at trail shoes is how much kind of flexibility does the shoe have. So this shoe, this is by Innovate, and it's a fell running shoe. This is what I would say has got lots of flexibility. I guess the ultimate flexibility is a barefoot shoe, or a minimalist shoe, let's call it. Yeah, you can twist them completely up. You can imagine the proprioception you can get from that. Again, I'm not telling you to go and do your training or even your running in these shoes. I'm more of a fan of just living day to day in them. Don't do any of my running in them really. But this shoe, very low drop, very low cushioning, lots of flexibility, half gorilla nipples on the bottom. Brilliant shoe for longer fell running days. Now, this shoe, this is a VJ Sport 2. It's a VJ Sport Ultra 2. Like I said, there's good protection at the front. The outsole is perfect for rock, that kind of tread there. If it's wet rock, the compound on the bottom is very sticky. The midsole has a good level of cushioning, so everything is pointing to me that this is a shoe made for rocky terrain and hard terrain. The fact that these new ones, the Ultra 2s, also have a carbon plate running through it, acts like a rock plate. That's pretty important for me if I'm running up here in North Wales in Snowdonia on the rocky terrain, but not everyone will have a rock plate in their shoe. Quite a common injury can be that you hit the fat pad of your heel on a rock, and if you ever do that and you bruise it pretty badly, you will know about it. So yeah, if you're planning on very rocky terrain, that is something to look at. So let's take a look at each one of my shoes, and I'll run through the different kind of pros and cons for each one of them, and yeah, it might help you make a bit of a choice on your own trail running shoe. I've included the Vivo Barefoot Minimalist shoe because I get asked about it all the time. I used to coach kind of technique and movement that involved me wearing these, and I've been on their coaching courses a very long time ago. I know everything there is to know about the company. Big fan of the shoe, big fan of wearing them all the time. apart from when I'm running, if I'm honest. Now, granted, maybe 10 years ago, when I was only a few years into my running and I was a lot younger, I did do a bit more running in them, just for fun, and I would be coaching in them, and I would be doing my recovery runs in them, just because I like the feel of being in this kind of shoe. Nice wide toe box, good grip, no cushioning, so you can really feel the ground with every step. Now, the problem with this is, as soon as you start to do any volume in it, any kind of intensity in them that involves running a bit harder, then you may come unstuck. You may bring on an overuse injury, or just a more kind of acute injury like an Achilles injury or a calf injury. I'm not saying that you definitely will, and there's lots of people that run in them successfully, but if I'm honest, there's not many people I know that is training successfully in them, okay? And I'm talking about doing your speed sessions, doing your hard hill sessions, running on rocky terrain if you're training for an ultramarathon, running very long distances. So are they to be enjoyed and be part of your kind of shoe collection? Yes, if you want to wear them outside of running, yeah, but I'm not going to be sitting here and telling you that they're a good idea for your day-to-day training. But yeah, these are, I think these are 4 or 5 years old, so they're built to last, and yeah, I still love them. Then I have another pair of zero drop, because yes, I do like to mix the drops up in my shoes. So like I say, this is the Innovate Trailfly G270 zero drop, and yeah, good level of cushioning, so I kind of get the best of both worlds. There is still some flexibility in the shoe, which, if I'm honest, in I think all Innovates there are good flexibility. It uses their Powerflow Max midsole, which yeah, I just really enjoy this shoe for very long distances, and you can see that they're well worn in, but they're well over 500 miles in if I looked at my kind of records here, and the only kind of real significant wear is along here. That's probably something to do with my gait more than anything, looking at it. But yeah, still plenty of miles left. Nice and comfortable for me, and I don't run too fast in them, but I've run ultras in them, I've run big days in the mountains in them, and yeah, I think they are a very good shoe. Next on the list would be these, because the grip now is more, when you get these out of the box, these are X Talons, I think 260s, I might be wrong, but yeah, these are X Talons, and the grip are usually a lot more than that, but again, they're about 500 plus miles in. Lots of good flexibility, which I like. Now there is a bit of drop in the shoe, and there's also a bit of cushioning, so that is the perfect shoe for me if I'm running long in the mountains and it's not too hard, too much of a hard trail, as in it's more of a fell running shoe, mud, grass, this kind of stuff, or just slightly wet trail, anything that I need to have confidence going downhill and good grip. This is the shoe that I start off with. And then if I need anything more aggressive, especially in the winter when trails are really wet, or even if it's snow, I can get away with these. These are full gorilla nipples, these are mud claws. And yeah, if I'm racing in a fell race, which isn't too often these days, but yeah, if it's a short fell race with lots of wet mud, these are the ones for me. Very aggressive, very fast, light. I mean, these are a couple of years old now and they still look like they've come out the box. This shoe is the Trailfly Ultra G280, again from Innovate. But this is a fantastic training shoe for me, and I can wear it on the fire trails, I can wear it on the Rocky Mountains, I can wear it in kind of light mud, and it's still got some good traction. If it was going to be a race, I would prefer it to be a little bit lighter. If it was going to be muddy, I would have better shoes for that condition. So yeah, I've been hammering the miles on these just in training because good level of drop, fantastic cushioning. They use what they call it, the fly speed here, nice and bouncy, so I can do recovery runs, I can do just long easy runs. They still feel fast if I want to turn a bit of leg speed on. But yeah, so whether I wouldn't personally race in them, really enjoyable shoe to wear, just fun to wear if I'm honest, so that's why I've kept them in. And the fact that they've still got loads of miles left, and yeah, they were kind enough to send them me, so I'm going to run them into the ground. Good bit of toe protection at the front, but then they've got the knitted upper, so plenty of kind of aeration, that's not the right word, aeration, airability, someone will correct me in the comments, you know what you lot are like. So yeah, a lot to like about this shoe, but it is a training shoe for me. Just in case you thought it was one big Innovate advert, then this is the VJ Ultra 2. Now, yeah, I've had Solomon shoes, I've had Hoka shoes, it's just at this time I've got plenty of Innovates, and this is one of the ones that isn't Innovate, so the VJ Ultra 2. I had the original version, really enjoyed them, they lasted me for probably 2 years and I wore them a lot. This one is updated because it has, like I said, a carbon plate running through it. What else is different? The tongue is slightly different. Not a lot else has changed, if I'm honest. There was nothing else to change. Outsole, very good. Sticky on wet rock. Not too great in kind of wet weather, as in muddy trail, that kind of thing, but hold their own enough. I wore them for the first 70 miles of the UTS, the Ultra Trail Snowdonia, and yeah, the only issue there was I couldn't continue. So that's why they didn't finish the race. But yeah, these have got, again, they've done 100 miles, about 120 miles actually, still looking good. The foam, that's been improved, I think, a little bit, and the carbon plate running through it means that when you do go onto the harder, flatter trail, or even on road where I've worn them, they feel a little bit more like a road shoe. I really like that. Big downside for me has been that on this heel cup there, I think that's what it's called, that rubs on that bone that sticks out of my ankle, and also the tongue is quite short, cuts off just at where my ankle bends, so I don't know if it's my anatomy of my foot and ankle, but if anything over an hour it starts to cut in. And yeah, after that 70 miles at the UTS, I had quite a, I mean, it's still not healed now, 3 weeks after, big sore on my ankle, and that's not what you want. So I'm having to tape up my ankle every time I wear these, which hasn't put me off wearing them because it's such a good shoe outside of that. But yeah, if anyone else has got this shoe and would like to feed back to me if you're feeling the same thing, that would be interesting. Yeah, light for the protection that it gives. Yeah, the midsole's great. I like the fact that it has this fit lock, kind of hugs the middle of your foot. Good protection at the front. Just run all day in them. Like I say, the only downside is they cut up my foot and ankle a little bit. Not ideal, I guess. And then the last shoe that I am using at the moment, albeit not too much because I don't have to be on the road too much at the moment. This is a Nike Pegasus, and I've included it because I've had a Nike Pegasus trail shoe for different variations for quite a few years now, and I would always recommend it to someone if either you're a fan of Nike and you wear Nike road shoes. Obviously it's going to be not too dissimilar, but also it's not too aggressive as a trail shoe. You can also get a Gore-Tex version, waterproof version, which I like even more just because the upper is actually a great light material. And yeah, if you're running in the winter and I run on light trail through the winter, I will stick a pair of them on. These are good just as a good all-rounder beginner shoe for anyone who's making a transition over from road to trail. Quite quickly you might need something more specific, but then you can always keep these as a training shoe. And yeah, they last, or they seem to last forever. They handle lots of different kind of terrains. The only kind of terrain I wouldn't wear them on is, yeah, fell or big mountains, really, if it was wet, because I can't trust this sole too much. Whether it's going to be a very aggressive tread on your shoe, or whether it's going to be a shoe with protection for the mountains and good on wet rock, what you really need to do is maybe write down a list of specifications that you absolutely need and start there, because for a lot of you just starting out, something like a Nike Pegasus Trail will do for you. I think you can pick these up for under £100, all the way up to a good Ultra mountain shoe, which is £160. This VJ Ultra, I think that's what I paid for that one. I didn't pay for these ones, but yeah, these are again top end, I guess. So yeah, they are a big investment, and I've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pairs, but they are in that shoe rotation for the past year and a half. I haven't got a shoe here, apart from this one, it is under 6 months old at the moment. So yeah, I'm getting good use out of them, if I'm honest. If I was going to leave you with one big tip or a series of tips to think about when you're buying your shoe, when you're going to trail running, it's very important that you're confident and that shoe gives you confidence on the terrain. So like I say, I feel confident or more confident on the wet rock in my VJ Ultras because they're nice and sticky. That compound sticks to the wet rock a little bit better. I am kind of very confident on the fells in these shoes, okay? And then I am not so confident to run very fast sessions or very long sessions in my Vivo Barefoots, yeah? So once you get to kind of know the lingo, the specifications, write them down, see what you need, and hopefully you will get the shoe that is right for you. There's lots of different companies to choose from. I know I've not shown you too many, but there's La Sportiva, there are Solomon, they are Hoka, One, or however the fucking hell you say it. Lots of different variations, especially once you go outside of the UK. So yeah, don't feel restricted to what I've shown you. The main thing is that you really think about the specifications that you need, and then you can look at each shoe or each company's like kind of stable of shoes and go from there. Right, I better pack these away. Hope that's been helpful, and I will see you again soon.